My name is Evelyn Breaden Mangham. My parents were missionaries to the Holy Land, and we called it that. And we lived in, the children, all of the missionaries, all lived in Bethlehem, just 6 miles from Jerusalem. And we went to school in Jerusalem. Right across the street was this huge field, and it was where all the sheep would come every night and sleep there. And of course, they drink what water and feed. And then when they all went to sleep, the men all got together, the shepherds, and they talk all night long. So we called them the news media of the Middle East. But this field was huge, enough for several hundred people to sit there and to stand and to sing. And so there we were, and it was such a thrill to think that shepherds over 2,000 years ago were there washing their sheep, and suddenly the sky opened up and there was wonderful singing by the angels. Joy to the world, the Lord is come.
That's awesome. And so you as a little girl actually walked in that field? You played in that field?
We didn't play in it. It was huge. It was across the street. But we had a field on our side of the road, and of course it was just a path. But we stayed on our side because the field had nothing to give us to play with or to do. So we only went down there just once in a great while.
So from that field, can you see the town of Bethlehem, or how far would it be to the town?
And you see the Church of the Nativity, and every Christmas the bells ring at midnight, and many, many people come and they want to go in to find where Jesus was born. Now, I don't know if the room that they showed us down very deep was exactly the room, but it was on that hill, and they built a church over it. And that's where we went just to experience the fact that Jesus was born there in Bethlehem.
Now, when people go in to see that place that is reported to be where Jesus was born, can you take a camel in there? Can you ride a horse?
The door is so small. The door is so small, you have to lean over. Even children, you have to duck your head. And I asked, why is the door so small? And they said, the British soldiers used to come in on horseback and desecrate the church. And so we made the door small. And anyway, they said, you're supposed to bow when you go into a church. That's what they tell you. Yeah, and that makes you bow when you have a door so small.
So having grown up in that setting and knowing the story of Jesus being born and coming to this earth, does that give you an assurance, or has that helped you in your relationship with Christ throughout your life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was wonderful. And the way that it was shown, the way it was told, was to shepherds of all people. They didn't know how to read or write or anything, but they sure could talk. We called them the news media. You tell the shepherds something, everybody knows right away, because when they go home to their villages, they tell what they heard, and everyone tells the story back and forth. If they'd have gone to some king, they would have hid it. Or if it was some priest, they would have said he's lost his mind. But the shepherds, they told the truth, and they told everything that they knew. And it was beautiful that God chose the shepherds.
So it's been nearly 90 years since you were in that place and growing up in that area.
Exactly. I'm 97 now, and I was about 7 or 8. No.
So those experiences as a little kid, has that helped you in your adult life or in your years, just in these past years of your life?
The very fact, that's just an affirmation, because the scripture that I learned is the most important thing of all. We've got to learn the scripture by heart. And so everything that I read in the scripture, I've been there, done that. And so it just enforced the truth that was taught me. And even though I saw, for example, the camels, I rode camels. I loved camels. They're really smart. And it was, everything about it is I was experiencing what they experienced.
Yeah. So now give me a specific example of a time when you've been discouraged or maybe lonely or just the experience of life. You know, life can be hard for people. How has Christ helped you in your times of need?
When I left the Middle East to come home to college, Daddy gave me in the front of a little Bible, it said, the word studied, your needs supplied, his presence strengthens, and you'll get home in safety. And those things, the word studied was first. And so it's the word today. And my life has proven so much of what I learned, or all that I've learned in Scripture. That's why I say, mothers and dads, give your children the Scripture and have them learn it. And even if you have to pay them, they've got to get that word verse and the Scripture. And I know when I was sent home to the States to go to college, I was alone. And I was so scared. I can't even remember parts of it. Going across the desert, Iraq, Iran, down the Persian Gulf, across India, all of that time, my stomach was in a knot because of where am I going? Who am I going to see? Who's going to pay for all this? And I knew Mother and Daddy didn't have any money. They were getting allowances, half 50% allowances. And I just had so many things on my mind. And I just go back to the Scriptures. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And I did that. And I knew that he heard me. And yes, I had lonely times, especially in mine when I get down there. I had nothing to play with. I never had a doll till I was 9. And I played with the little candles. I had little birthday candles Mother had taken out there. And so we'd turn them on, we'd light them for just a minute. And then we'd turn it off because I wanted to play with them later. So the taller ones were the daddy and the littler ones with the mother and the children. And I would play with these candles. That's all I had. But I had the Arab children, and I loved playing with them, and especially the camelback. You know, when I think of the wise men coming down by camel, 750 miles from the Medes and the Persians, and I just love those camels. You know, they can drink 40 gallons of water, and 15 minutes later, drink 40 more gallons, and so you go from place to place. You go from water hole to water hole to water hole. Sometimes you're going east, sometimes you're going west, sometimes you're going a little bit north, but you have to go from water hole to water hole. No wonder it took them so long. And it wasn't just 3 men walking. It was probably 50 to 100 people walking, because they had soldiers, they had servants, they had boys that took care of the camels, they had a whole host of people walking, going from water hole to water hole to water hole to water hole. No wonder it took them over a year and a half to get there.
So the angels announced to the shepherds that were in that field where you've been, joy to the world.
The Lord has come.
The Lord has come. Peace on earth, goodwill towards all men. Now, Mom, how have you experienced peace? You're alone. Your husband has gone to heaven. There probably are times when you're feeling lonely or wanting to be with him. Or how has the peace of Jesus been with you in those times in recent days?
Well, I know I'm in his hands. I'm in his hands. And he can do with me whatever he wants. And I love to do. I love to be. I love to talk. I love people. And that takes care of it. You know, you have time alone with the Lord, but at the same time, I want to be doing, I want to be witnessing, I go to the market even here and just throw my arms around these Arabs when I meet them and talk Arabic to them. That's the sweetest thing I can do in my old age. And they just cry. They know somebody loves them. And that's my inner being.
So that's where Christ's peace reigns in you, and it is shown as goodwill towards the people you meet. And Mom, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. He's faithful. Learn Scripture.